Choose to leave.
Hi, everyone. We're going to just get started in a minute. Okay, we can get started. So for today's session of Ask Mayfield Anything, we are going to be talking about NABCEP, especially as we are coming upon the NABCEP CE conference, which is actually happening in a month from now, which is really exciting. So the countdown to the conference is starting now, and we are so excited to host this special edition of Ask Mayfield Anything to be talking about the value of getting quality education, training, and certification in the solar plus storage industry. So we will go to the next slide. So I'm Christy Drutman. I'm the content marketing coordinator here at Mayfield Renewables. So I will be moderating and just guiding today's conversation. And we are joined by Ryan Mayfield, who is our founder and CEO of Mayfield Renewables.
Hi, Christy. Thanks.
Hi, Ryan. And we're super excited to introduce our special guest, Shawn O'Brien. He's the CEO and president of NABCEP. He has over 20 years of experience in the certification industry. He brings an extensive background in certification management, continuing education, and global expansion. He's presented internationally on issues regarding fair testing, credentialing standards, examination, education, and continuing competency. In addition to his direct service work with assessment design, Shawn has assisted certification and regulation boards in recognizing the proper role of an examination in the credentialing process and how its quality is directly related to the growth of a profession. Prior to joining NABCEP, Shawn served as Chief Operating Officer of the National Board for Certified Counselors. Thank you so much, Shawn, for joining us for today's AMA.
Thank you, Christy. Hey, Ryan, how are you? And just a bit, truth in advertising, that picture that on that slide there is me from about 12 years ago. I got a lot more white in that beard, I just realized.
I found that if you just shave it all off, it hides it all a lot better, Shawn.
Yeah, I'd be in divorce court if I did that.
Well, thank you so much, Shawn. We'll have Ryan introduce our topic today to lead into the conversation.
Sure. Thanks, Christy. So welcome, everybody. Really appreciate you taking the time. And yeah, so today we're going to talk about, education, training, certification in general. And Shawn's going to have a fair amount to add to this conversation. And, setting it up, we do have the NABCEP conference coming up, which I'm really excited about. We'll talk more about some specifics on that later. But just the education and training part of it, that's something that's really near and dear to myself and to my team. It's something that we collectively have been doing for a long time. And so just the value that we see is pretty immense. And then the certification side of it, which I'll leave most of that to Shawn, but the certification side just goes hand in hand with that. And getting qualified or getting people qualified through certification process, continuing ed, those kinds of things. So yeah, so excited to talk about all this, and then give you some more info on the NABCEP conference that's coming right up. So let's dive in, talk a little bit about NABCEP specifically. So Shawn, do you want to, for those that may not know NABCEP, give a little bit of intro on who and what NABCEP is?
Okay, thank you, Ryan. So as some of you may know, NABCEP is a certification body, not a licensure board, state or any other jurisdiction, which means it's a voluntary credential for individuals who are looking to demonstrate that they have the have met the highest standards in the industry. However, because there really isn't any entity established for this industry, as far as a jurisdiction that license solar professionals, NABCEP has a dual role. Not only do we promote the profession and the professionals, we're also set up to protect consumers, whether or not that is Mr. and Miss homeowner who put a system on their home and have problems with that, whether or not it's with the installation itself or warranty or a variety of different issues, or CFOs putting a small C&I system on their business. We protect the public in that we have probably in this industry the only really enforceable code of ethics, unlike an association who have a code of ethics for companies that are members of that association. NABCEP's code of ethics is different. Our processes are different. We have legal counsel. We have 2 people on staff who have legal training. And we, when we get a formal complaint from a consumer regarding a certified individual, we go at it pretty hard. We have a standing board committee made up of non-board members, ethics committee that reviews everything. And we can do everything from revoking someone's certification to a public reprimand, private reprimand. So like if you have a electrical license or something, we act kind of like that licensure board when it comes to consumer protection. There's a slide a little later on in the presentation talking about the different certifications. So I won't get into it here, Ryan, but NABCEP was established, as this slide says, to work within renewable energy, to promote the industry, to promote individuals, worker safety, standards, skills, all of the above. And it's a full-time job for several people. It takes a lot.
Yeah, I bet. And I remember actually, it was interesting because I remember when, looking this 2003, I couldn't remember the exact year, but I remember when NABCEP was first getting, started. And I was relatively early in my career at that point. And I remember a lot of talk and the kind of the good and the bad that comes with it. And, it's, I would say over the last, since 2003, really become, that gold standard that the intention was. And so I think it's great just watching kind of how it grew from an idea from a handful of people into the organization that it is today.
Yeah, and we're pretty proud of what a staff of 8.5, has done and has maintained. We have grown just like our conference has grown over the last, 10, 20 years. And we are, 2 of our programs are ANSI accredited, through the 17024, the personnel accreditation, which takes a lot. But we build all our programs off those same standards, but we want to make sure that the product we put out there as far as certifications is to the highest level of the certification industry standards. We expect the professionals to meet a certain standard. We then have to hold that to ourselves as well and meet the highest standard within our industry of certification.
Sure. Yeah. That's great. So you want to talk a little bit about kind of, I think the installation professional is probably you could tell us, it's probably the biggest certification I think that you all have, or at least in terms of numbers of certified people, but you also have a number of others.
We do. We have quite a few. We'll get into it. This is such a broad question. I could take this entire webinar and more. And it's going over sort of the benefits depending on the certification, who you're talking about, what population. Are you talking about benefits to an employer, benefits to a consumer, benefit to a professional, a seasoned professional, someone just getting into the industry? There's just a whole host of benefits depending on sort of the circumstances and who you're talking about. But the two I'll talk mainly here, and I'll get a little bit more into the professionals later on. But for consumers, it gives them sort of that added trust level that if someone comes to their home and says they are a NABCEP certified installer, they can expect a certain level of performance. They can expect that the system is going to be, that the individual installing the system have proven that they have certain level of knowledge, skills, and ability. They also know that they can come to NABCEP, as I mentioned earlier, if anything goes wrong. So we're kind of like that overseer if anything happens when a certified person installs a system. So there's that benefit to consumers. And again, as I said, whether or not it's that homeowner or that business owner, they can come to us for with any issues they may have. And from the consumers, they just know that these folks are liability, someone on your roof, be able to ask certain questions. We have calls all the time, people asking, what should they ask the installer? Well, first of all, ask them, are they certified? Have they maintained their certification? And this kind of leads into a program we have with our digital badgers. With that digital badge, it's kind of like an electronic certificate. Which if you're certified, you get a certificate that says, a paper certificate that says you're certified. That digital badge not only says the person's certified, but if you send that to a potential customer, they can click on that and get all the metadata that shows not only you're certified, but what you had to do to become certified, the knowledge, skills, and abilities you had to prove that you were trained in, that you passed an examination in, that you have no outstanding ethics issues, that you're maintaining your certification through continuing education. And that's both for the consumer, the homeowner, and the employer. On the employment side, employers know that they're getting, when they hire a NABCEP person or that NABCEP certified person walks into a hiring manager's office, they know they're getting someone who understands the industry, safety, has the knowledge. And again, depending on the certification, PV installation professional, they pretty much know from A to Z, everything from, they'll have some knowledge about sales, design, installation, commission and maintenance, inspection. They'll have a pretty broad amount of information and skills that they have demonstrated. And as I said, it depends. But even if what we call the PV associate, if they come into, someone with the PV associate credential comes into a hiring manager's office, the hiring manager knows, okay, we need to do some onboarding with this person about how we do business. But I know if they have that PV associate, they understand the basics. They on day one can get up on a roof. They understand safety. They know tools. They know the basics of the industry, all within those same areas I just mentioned, but they don't have to know it to the level or the expertise of the PV installation professional. So those are kind of the benefits for those two populations.
I'm curious on the consumer side. Is there a lot of recognition for NABCEP, or are people recognizing the name and asking for it, or more and more? I know some of early on, you talked about difference between licensure and certification. And I know there were some states that were kind of tying monies, rebate money and things like that to NABCEP certification, which there's two sides of that coin, I'm sure. But I guess I'm just curious on, just on the consumer side, how much recognition over the years is growing for NABCEP? Are people asking for it, that kind of thing?
We do. They are. We get calls. We can't promote one installer, one installation company over another. But I can tell you that our public-facing directory that's on our website gets so much traffic of people going in there looking for people who are certified. We've actually just spent quite a bit of time and money upgrading that directory. So now that folks, previously it was just search by city and state. You can now, we've added so many API, geo-tracking locations. So now you can search by within a certain number of miles of a zip code or things of that nature. So we do get, and we have a brochure that we will give to free to all certified folks. And it's by far the highest requested piece of NABCEP collateral that we get from installers. And what it is, it's a basic trifold that they're able to put their information on it as far as their certification number and name, and they're given to clients. So not only is NABCEP working to promote the profession like that, as far as getting consumer awareness, but the installers themselves are doing it. And it's one reason why we have a pretty close relationship and partnership with Solar Reviews, because that helps it get out there quite a bit. You see the little certification logo here. That is anyone who's on the Solar Reviews website also has this logo there representing if they're NABCEP certified. So it's an important piece, and it's a very important question that you asked, because I think it's something that NABCEP's going to be doing more and more in the future. I know where you're going to be with PSAs, but it needs to be not just coming from NABCEP. It needs to be a joint effort coming from NABCEP, coming from a joint message coming from NABCEP, coming from trainers, and coming from the associations, talking about how to educate the consumers. Mm-hmm. It's very important.
And then how about on the like on the whole licensure versus certification bit? I guess is NABCEP still seeing that? I feel like when solar was still kind of this new up and coming technology, we had a lot of rebate programs. States very often, or rebate organizations, would kind of tie on to NABCEP on some level. Is that something you guys are still seeing a lot of, or is that kind of gone by the wayside as solar has become more, I guess, mainstream, you could say?
We're seeing the same amount or more, as far as you mentioned, tied to state or some jurisdiction level rebates and credits. Like the newest one comes to my mind is in the state of Illinois, where one of the ways to be able to qualify for the rebate is to be NABCEP certified.
Okay.
So we see a lot of folks, so we still see that. Duke Energy has a program that is tied to the NABCEP certification where a homeowner can get a rebate from Duke. Tennessee Valley Authority still has one that is tied to the NABCEP certification for installers to get. And I actually think that one, it is the only way that the installer can get on the program with TVA is to be NABCEP certified. I think that's exclusive to that. So there are still those. There is some still talk about from jurisdictions, particularly at the state level, looking at licensure for installers. And I get calls periodically from folks working in licensure boards, usually from on the construction side, who are considering licensure. And it makes sense for them. They create their own requirements, but as we're showing a little bit, creating the exam it's just, quite a hefty lift financially for state licensure boards. State licensure boards are not rich departments. They scrap by as best they can, but they're usually underfunded for the amount of work they need to do for any profession.
Sure. Yeah. And I think that's, true across the board, as we've been seeing. So great. Okay.
We did just receive a question from Mike Joseph.
Mm-hmm.
Mike asks, does NABCEP certify a whole organization or just individuals? If we have 20 installers, let's say, should each and every one of them get a certification?
The answer is yes, yes, and yes. So yes, we have both certifications for individuals, and we do have a company accreditation program where the company can be accredited for NABCEP. Right now, it's just for residential installation companies. We're looking to expand that to other areas, but right now we do have the company accreditation website and program. So the company can come accredited. Part of that accreditation, you do have to have a certain number of your staff certified. It just helps us with the vetting process of the company, but it's pretty involved. It takes a little while. You have to really do a self-evaluation of the entire company. I'm happy, if you want to reach out to me, talk you through it, and we can discuss it. But it is also very good for your folks to get their own individual certification, because one says the company's doing business as the way they should be doing business, and it's a nice seal of approval, particularly when you're talking to a customer. But on the other end, the certification for the individual is going to promote your company quite a bit, because in theory, your installations, you should know, if you're seeing some issues with installations, you'll see some higher quality work out of folks, particularly new ones that you're hiring on.
Great. So yeah, one of the things in creating a actual curriculum certification process, I think people don't quite grasp how in depth and how much this takes. So Shawn, can you kind of talk us a little bit about, what does it take in kind of, setting, NABCEP apart there?
I'd be happy to, Ryan. Thank you. So as you can see where it says START, that's the job analysis, what we commonly refer to as a JTA. And that is a national survey that goes out to folks in the industry who would relate to that. So if we were doing one for the PV installation professional, which we do these every 5 years, 3 to 5 years, because you have to do them to make sure that everything that relates to the certification is current industry best practices. So you do the JTA, job task analysis, you get your test specifications, test development, you got to market the program, you do your test administration, you got to set cut scores, the scoring, test score reporting, and then the ongoing test maintenance. All of that, the biggest question I always get from folks, when they particularly from folks who do not pass the exam, they think that NABCEP staff sits around and just writes questions and puts these exams together. What they don't realize is we have over 200 subject matter expert volunteers who volunteer for various committees. So for this process you're seeing here on this slide, you would have 2 committees. One, we would have a technical committee who works on the job analysis and the test specifications. Then those test specifications and exam blueprint is turned over to an exam committee. They write the items, they test the items, they go through all the items, and then staff takes care of the marketing. We have a psychometric testing partner. We use Scantron. It takes care of the test administration. Then it goes back to that exam committee to set the cut score based on statistics. The test scoring takes place, test score reporting. It's done by Scantron and NABCEP together, and then the ongoing maintenance, which it's not. I mentioned the JTA is done every 3 to 5 years, but the ongoing maintenance is an annual ongoing thing. So we have to continuously write items, look at items that don't perform well on the examination. We just don't create a form of the examination. It may be that some of the options on a question is not, they're not working properly or things of that nature. So just to start a new certification program, you're talking about in the range of about $250,000. So it costs about $225,000, about $250,000 to start a program. That's just to get it to that point in step 8. Ongoing maintenance and things of that nature. So in a 3-year cycle, it generally, to keep one program current and to ANSI standards, is anywhere between $375,000 to $400,000. Now for NABCEP, you have to multiply that by 6 or 7 because we have that many certification programs. So it's pretty expensive, but it's the only way to do it. There are some certifications out there that just do it much differently, but they don't change anything from year to year or from decade to decade. They're trying to make money. NABCEP doesn't do that way. Our goal by using those 200 volunteers is to use industry professionals to create a certification for industry professionals. So this is a selfish plug. Anyone out there who's certified and you consider yourself knowledgeable and a subject matter expert in any area in the industry, please reach out to me. Be happy to get you onboarded to be on one of our various committees. We always are looking for volunteers. Again, volunteers. And I'll just give you a warning. We lock you in a room 2 to 3 days for about 8 hours. We do go, we put you in a decent hotel. We give you a nice meal, but we pay for you to go. You don't have any expense except for your time away from work. But we've never had a volunteer leave because they thought it was a horrible experience. They love the networking with other professionals, and they always find it as a learning experience for them, going through and arguing about what section of the code for this question, what section of the code for that question. So they find it an enjoyable experience. It's just, it can be tiring for them by the end of 3 or 4 days.
Sure, I bet. Yeah, and it sounds a lot like just code making in general. It takes a lot of people to put that together, and like you said, not just a handful of people in some back room making up questions that they think are going to make people fail. That's not the intention, not the goal of what's going on.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, cool. So you mentioned, the 8 programs, and people can go to your website and take a look at that. I was kind of curious if you have any sneak peek on anything that's coming up. Are you guys kind of what's, there's always got to be looking at the next thing. So what is it that's on NABCEP's radar?
All right. This is a real sneak peek. So we're 90% sure we will be starting this process here for new certification in energy storage technologies. So basically energy storage certification. It's something we're looking to have funded by the National Science Foundation. So we're working with CREATE, which is in Madison, Wisconsin, Ken Walls and his group through Madison College, and MREA. Mm-hmm. So 3 organizations are working together to create this energy storage certification. So that was going to be one of the big announcements at the conference in August, but I let it out for you, Ryan.
Okay, thanks, Shawn. Appreciate it. A little sneak peek for all of us.
There's other ones other things. There's a few things that we have that we've been we're launching a new CMS platform for certificates and for certifying and recertifying. And so we have 3 or 4 different programs that we're going to launch once that new platform launches, which will be July 22nd. So just about 10 days or so.
Okay.
There's a couple, one of them we're calling board eligible, which is going to make it, should make it a lot easier. And this ties to training actually, and I can talk about this, it's kind of public. So with the board eligible, if someone applies through that pathway, they do the regular application, they take their training, but instead of needing to wait to take the exam after they get their experience, they can actually sit for the exam after they completed their training, which puts the exam a lot closer to the time they completed their required training. Generally, right now, you take your training. If you don't already have your experience, it could be 2 years later when you finally get all the experience you need to apply and take the exam. That means you're 2 years removed from completing your training.
Right.
With this board eligible process, we're sort of switching the switch and allowing people to train, test, then get their experience. And then once they verify their experience, they can get fully certified. But it will also help folks who don't have all the experience they need, who have taken the training, passed the test, to be able to go again into that hiring manager's office and say, hey, I've taken all the training, I've passed the PVIP exam, which carries a lot of weight, and all I need is experience. So give me a job so I can get the experience, get full certification, help your business get more business because I'll be certified and you'll be able to promote that you have a certified person on staff. So we see it as a win-win both for the professional and for the employer.
Cool. That's great. So this is one we wanted to talk about as well. And so this is your, what can you do with the certification? And this is the job wheel, I guess, is kind of what we're referring to it as. And so this really helps outline those different certifications, kind of lays them all out there for folks to see. And then I guess, how have you guys been using this to promote NABCEP and everything? Obviously, solar specifically is a huge growing field. And this, I think, should help people kind of see where they can land. Obviously, there's a lot more to it than just solar installers, which I think might have been one of the reasons why this wheel got developed, was just to show people the breadth of different careers that are out there.
Exactly. So this actually came out of the numerous questions you would get from someone who would call up or email us and say, I'm very interested in getting certified. How do I do it? And we're like, at the time, we probably had 5, maybe 6 certifications. And we said, well, what are you interested in? What is your degree in? Or what do you know? What kind of career path are you interested in? And that would take some time. So we created this career wheel, or career hub. And in the middle, you can see is the PV associate, which is sort of the entry level, which you do not need to start there, but it's generally a good start for a younger person who's just getting out of high school perhaps, or someone transitioning from another profession who knows little about the industry. But it shows those other 6 PV certifications we have. And as you said, it kind of shows the career field, the job title, certification. So people can get an idea, well, I graduated an engineering degree. I kind of want to get into the design side, and it kind of shows how they can take that pathway. So that's the main purpose for using this, creating this, But the use of it is, we disseminate it quite a bit. This is something, this slide is probably easily the number one used NABCEP produced slide that gets embedded into pretty much every training provider's presentation, because it helps to answer that question, particularly at the PV associate level, when students are asking, not only their main question is, where can I go? And so one of the goals for NABCEP is, we don't want to create a certification that helps you get a job. We want to put you on a career path. So if I get the PV associate and I find, I'm kind of interested in mainly just doing technical sales, well, it shows you the path and what you can do if you want to get into technical sales area. So it's really good, particularly for those trainings that are happening at the PV associate level, to help guide students on that career path.
Great, and that actually leads, I think, right into a question that came in, Mohammed, I was asking here just now, talking about saying is, I don't have any experience, and how can I get training? And so there's links on the website on how, so individuals need to get their specific training. We'll talk about the conference coming up. There's, one opportunity that's more about the continuing ed, I realize. But there are some newer programs, right? Heat Springs doing something specifically on training. And then there's, of course, Solar Energy International does some training. There's various resources out there. But I'm sure you get that question a lot too, Shawn. So where do you send people when they say, so I want to get trained, how do I do it?
Okay, just like we can't promote one install over another, we cannot promote one training provider over another, but we have over 200 training companies that are registered with NABCEP for the PV associate level training. They are all listed on our website. If you just go to the website, you'll see the course catalog. It looks just like a community college online course catalog. You'll see the area where you can click PV associate training, and then you can filter that by if you want in-person training, online training, hybrids, both in-person and online. And you'll see all the different training providers and the courses they provide. You just click on the program, it'll take you right to the website, show you the pricing and things of that nature. So that's the easiest way to find a training provider. Obviously, you want to do your own homework as far as maybe reaching out to folks that you may know who've trained with one or another training provider to get their perspective and how they feel. But all those training providers have been at some level vetted by NABCEP to make sure that their training meets what I referred to before as the JTA, so meets that outline of knowledge, skills, and abilities that the individual will be tested on, that their training satisfies that. So that's the easiest way to find a training. For the PV associate credential, there is not a experience requirement. So you can take the training, sit for the exam. As long as you pass the exam, you can then go into again, promote yourself as a PV associate to be able to find employment. The beauty of going that pathway is when you do apply eventually for the PV installation professional, that generally takes 58 hours of training. You can be exempt from 18 hours of that training if you've taken the PVA training and passed the exam. You do not have to, you only need 48 hours of training.
Great. And so like you were saying, you can get that training in a variety of ways. I mean, you could go to a singular, there's ways of getting it kind of an all-in-one kind of thing, or piece it together.
Yes. And you mentioned it, so I'll bring it up. At the conference, Heat Spring will be, that will distract me if I let it ring. Should have put it on Do Not Disturb. My apologies. Heat Spring is doing a special PVA training at the conference this year. You pay one price. I believe it's $875. I'm not sure, but that covers your training and your admission to the conference. So you get the both of it. You take the training through Shawn White is doing the training through Heat Spring, and then you're also able to experience the conference. By doing that, you're taking a training that will lead to your PV associate credential. You can then network with folks who may be hiring. More than likely they are, because there's lots of hiring going on right now, where you can talk to them and say, I'm taking the PVA training right now. I expect to take the exam by October. I'll have my PVA credential. Are you hiring? So it's a good place. It's kind of informal job fair for those folks who are going to take that training through Heat Spring. It's going to be in the same venue, same location, just down the hall from down the foyer from the exhibit hall of the conference. So easy access to the conference as well. So again, there's information on the conference website, on our main website for that, if you're interested in doing it that way.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit more about the conference here in just a second. So we're almost there. For me, what do you get out of becoming a trainer here? And I've been involved doing NABCEP specific training in general for many, many years now. And, I've found that, as being a trainer, it's been very helpful working with organizations like NABCEP. I was doing some community college training as well. And so it's quite interesting just going through and, you mentioned the whole networking, Shawn. That's a big part of it, and moving on and doing things, going to the conferences, the NABCEP conference, the other, shows throughout the year, finally gonna be able to do those back in person here. That'll be a relief for all of us. But the idea of working with your peers, and quite honestly, whenever I do trainings, whenever I'm working with folks and doing the code class, for example, at NABCEP, it's quite interesting just the number of things that I even learn myself. And so that's, for me, I think that one of the biggest things is just the continual learning on both sides of the room that happens throughout that. So, Mayfield Renewables as a company, we are, one of those training providers that you mentioned, one of the many training providers that are out there on NABCEP. And so we've found that it's just a valuable way of staying connected with the community, staying connected with installers, and being able to work with folks in order to stay on top of the technologies. Things like you mentioned, Shawn, the energy storage aspect. It's a rapidly changing component, and so it's important to stay on top of that. So, yeah. Before we leave kind of just the general NABCEP stuff, there's some opportunities wanted to make sure people were aware of. So can you tell us a little bit, there's a couple scholarships available, different avenues for people to get involved with NABCEP and potentially, doing some training and some of those other things. Can you give us a little bit about those, Shawn?
Sure. So be happy to. The Les Nelson Scholarship, and Christy, I apologize, I didn't send you the full name. And this hasn't been publicized at all. It's something new that will be talked about at the conference and more information provided. But it's actually the Les Nelson Scholarship for volunteers. And doesn't mean a volunteer to NABCEP. Those of you who knew Les Nelson or knew of Les Nelson knew that he volunteered his time to this industry at a tremendous pace. I mean, he volunteered for everything he could that he knew that would promote the industry. So he was a volunteer board member of NABCEP when he passed. And so the board created this scholarship, the Les Nelson Scholarship for Volunteers. And what it'll be a scholarship that will be focused on an individual's history of volunteerism. It necessarily doesn't have to be in the solar industry. It could be someone who's just trying to get into the industry, who has a history of volunteering. It could be a young student who just graduated high school, but he's volunteered for the Red Cross or for the March of Dimes or for United Way, or just in the local food bank or something, but has that sort of spirit of volunteerism. Also in that will be a financial need. The scholarship will pay for the individuals all their examination and application fees for certification, whether or not it's board certified or the PV associate. It will pay for their registration to a future NABCEP conference and all their travel expenses to the conference. So, airfare, hotel, food, beverage, all that. So all expenses paid. And the goal is to promote that volunteerism, to get other people to volunteer, and not necessarily doesn't mean volunteer for, as I said, for NABCEP, just more people volunteering for a variety of nonprofits associated with this industry who need volunteers to do some of the work, which makes it a lot easier on them. So that's that scholarship. There'll be a lot more information. The application will be coming out sometime in early August. So if folks are interested, you'll be able to go to our website and see that. For those of you who are certified, again, a selfish plug, once that new platform is launched on July 22nd, when you recertify, there will be a space there that you can make any level of contribution you want to the Les Nelson Scholarship to help promote this. Our goal is to do, there's no limit on how many we would do annually. If the funds allow it, we'll do 5, we'll do 10. We want to obviously sustain it for years to come. So we'll start off doing a couple in the beginning and then go from there. As long as we can sustain it, we'll do as many as the program will allow. The Jane Wiseman Daybreak Scholarship was something that started from a couple of companies in the industry who found it. Initially, we're looking to create a scholarship to help sort of bridge the gap, the gender gap in the industry. So it was mainly originally for women to get into the industry. NABCEP had conversations with Paul Grana from Folsom Labs. Paul did the first initial, put up the seed money to get it started. NABCEP necessarily at the time, we weren't prepared to sort of administrate the scholarship. So we worked with the Women in Solar Energy, Kristen Nicole, and they were willing to take it over and they administer. So the website For that is www.soulwoman.org. I forget. I do have it written down somewhere. Yeah, soulwoman.org. I was right. solwoman.org. And you'll see right on their homepage the Jane Wiseman Daybreak Scholarship. So it's kind of expanded their scope as well. It is for women, it's for veterans, it's for other minorities. So it's really a scholarship now to help underrepresented populations to get into the industry.
Excellent. So that's great. Yeah. So and yeah, Lucas just from our team just put in that website there. So for those of you in the chat, there's a link there for it. So this actually I think is a great segue right into one of the questions that came in a little bit earlier from Martin. So I think you just listed off a couple of them, but the question was, what are some of NABCEP's biggest accomplishments? And so, I think the scholarships are pretty big one. Is there anything that you would add to that?
Yeah, I would say the work we're doing currently as a sub-awardee on a DOE grant to help veterans get into the industry.
Right.
The board has been very active in doing that. So we've created what we call fast tracks for veterans. And really what it is, it's a program to recognize the training that the military personnel received while serving. So kind of aligning their MOC or MOS, depending on how you see them, with the requirements for a specific certification. So we have been doing that, and those are coming out. They've been approved by the board, and they will launch when the new platform is launched. So it will help veterans to be able to get certified. We've also worked to get our board certifications, all of them, including the PV associate, all the solar board certifications, and the PV associate program approved for GI Bill reimbursement. So the nice thing about that is the veteran will be able to use the GI Bill funds to pay for the training, and then be able to come to certification. And then we're also approved through what's called the COOL program. So Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard all have a program called COOL. And COOL, what that allows the veteran or active military to do is to use funds. They get about $2,300, and that will pay for their application and their examinations. So by putting those two together, we put a nice piece together for veterans, for those who have served our country, to be able to get funding for the training, get funding to help with the examinations, and to make it to recognize the trainings they've received in the military.
Very good. Wow. So that's, you guys are being very, very active there. That's great. Okay. So yeah, we're about to hit the top of the hour here, not too soon. So wanted to talk about, we've alluded to this a little bit, the conference coming up, and I'm really excited about this. So one, it's, the first conference within the industry, probably within a lot of places within the last year. So really excited just to get out and see people again. But the NABCEP conference in of itself is, I say this all the time, and so I'm not too shy about saying it here either, but it's my favorite conference of all the ones that we have out there. And for me, it's always so it's an interesting group. It's a very dedicated group to solar and renewables in general. And it's just the quality of attendees is just unsurpassed. And so it's, I'm not trying to, I'm not getting paid here to plug this or anything like this. It truly is, how I view this and see this. And I've been going, so I've made every single one of the conferences, and I've been teaching the National Electrical Code course at all of these. And so I'll be there again this year teaching the all-day NEC course. And so really excited about that, get back in front of folks, and just getting to be with everybody. And, our company this year is making a really big push. We'll talk about a couple of things that we're doing here. I'll let Christy talk a little bit. But yeah, Shawn, do you want to, anything that you want to say about the conference coming up, that you guys are particularly proud of or excited about?
Sure. Well, first of all, I agree with you, Ryan. It is my favorite industry conference as well, but I have a biased opinion.
So my unbiased opinion is there too. So
there's a couple of things. First of all, it is our 10-year celebration, and so we'll be doing several giveaways. We'll actually be giving away just a random pick of someone who you have to be there to get it, but it'll be a $1,000 Visa gift card, several other gift cards, $100 gift cards for other things as well. So there'll be a lot of sort of giveaways being done because it is a 10-year celebration. We'll have our Women in Solar breakfast, sort of celebrating and getting women together to have sort of discussions about, I won't say issues, but topics that are important for women in the industry to deal with. It was a very lively and well-received breakfast meeting in 2019 in San Diego. We wanted to do it last year. Obviously, we were virtual, but this year we'll be doing a Veterans Appreciation Breakfast as well. And that's more to get veterans who are certified and employers who are looking to hire veterans in the same room, talk about not necessarily hiring someone on the spot, but how to go about allowing veterans who are in the industry speak to employers about the best way to work with veterans, how to get them onboarded and things of that nature. So we're looking forward to hosting that breakfast. Greg Smith is actually going to moderate that for us this year. What you said about this conference being a little different, it is smaller. We'll probably have just over 500 people, 70 exhibitors, but the training's going on. We'll have probably 60 hour-and-a-half technical trainings going on, 8 2-hour panel sessions, and then 4 6-hour trainings, including yours, Ryan, on the code on Thursday. So there is lots of training going on. That's from 8:30 in the morning to 5:30 in the evening. Besides eating breakfast, lunch, you are training and getting training. So, and then the piece we hear a lot, from other, we exhibit obviously at other industry conferences, and the piece we hear from exhibitors when we're there is at the NABCEP conference, the questions are just so technical, and so and it's usually not the marketing person that's working the booth, it's the trainers for those companies or the technical support for a manufacturing company, because the questions that come from the attendees are very technical in nature, and a marketing person generally, unless they have 2 hats in the company, generally aren't prepared to answer the type of questions that come from our attendees. They're there to get into the down and dirty about a product or things of that nature. They're not looking for the fluff when it comes to our conference for the exhibitors. So that's a little special for our conference. For those of you who see this now or sometime in the future, at least until August 8th, you will get a 15% discount off the registration. And Lucas, it's 20 NAB, May, M-A-Y. That could be wrong. 21. Yeah, I think that's right. I don't know.
Lucas will put it in the chat.
I'm getting old.
There it is.
So there's a lot happening. There's another, some fun things happening. We're doing sort of a solar version of Wait, Don't Tell Me. If you're not familiar with that show, it's hilarious. Oh, there we go.
Yep.
How'd you know I was going to say that? It's hilarious. This one will be great. I watched the video of this. I didn't see it live when you did it. I forget when it was, but I also watched the TV show. It's one reason of the show. That's why I listened to it. That's one reason why I watched yours, and it was great. So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, and there'll be new things coming up. We'll be talking about one of the things I didn't mention earlier about one of our accomplishments, because we haven't done it yet, but we're looking. The thing we'll be doing next is creating a formalized mentorship sort of along the lines to help with career development. We don't want to just certify someone. As I said, our goal is to get people into a career path. So then put them together with someone who's been in the industry for a while to help them kind of take those baby steps as they're getting into the industry. Questions asked, things to do, how to find a job. So we want to sort of create that network for folks. We do that at the conference with the meet and greet, trying to get people, newcomers to the conference, networked with folks who've been at the conference for several years. And that's a very popular place. And it just helps people navigate the conference if they can meet someone who's been to the conference more than once. So there's those lines. But I think the mentorship, if you ask me this question a year from now, that question about biggest accomplishments, that will be on the list. There's creating that mentorship and formalizing that connection between people just getting into the industry with industry veterans.
Awesome. Well, great. So we're really excited about the conference as well. And a little bit for our, plugging for ourselves. I've already mentioned, I'll be doing the NEC class. So all day of code, lots of fun. So come and join me if you're there. But Justine Sanchez will also be doing a course, one of those hour-and-a-half courses on energy storage and codes. So we've been doing a lot of work around that. We have Sarah Pavey, who's on our team, will also be doing one of the roundtable events. So if you're there on the roundtable side. So Mayfield's making a big push for this. And so, I don't know, Christy, if you wanted to say anything about the wait event, you're the one who's, really putting this together or helping on our side put that together.
Yeah, it's a happy hour. It's for fun. We're going to be doing different rounds with different experts across the industry. So it'll be hosted on August 11th in the evening during NABCEP. So just make sure that you join. There's going to be prizes and trivia. So it'll be a lot of fun.
Yep. And we did a virtual one last year. It was a lot of fun. So hopefully everybody gets there, participates, and we'll have some fun prizes and things like that to go with it. And then as we're there, I just wanted to mention this as well. Mayfield, if your company is there, we're actually going to have a media room set up in conjunction with NABCEP, and doing some interview type things with our subject matter experts and people from different companies. And so we have this set up. We're really excited about this offering that we're working with folks, helping strategically, get your message out there, talk about your products, how it meets different parts of the industry, and so this is a interesting product that we're really excited about putting out there. And so we have a handful of folks that are doing it already, so we have a limited number of spots left, but it would be a good way of showcasing your expertise with some of our experts. So excited to have that product. So if that's something that's of interest to anybody on the call, feel free. You can call us, or technical@mayfield.energy is a great way to get a hold of us. Okay. So we had a handful of questions. We're already 2 minutes to the hour, so we're kind of up against it. I did see there was another question that came in from Mohammed. I think Mohammed will, in terms of getting the experience required, I think getting you in contact with NABCEP would be the best to help get you that path. What the best way is to get that experience, or get the path forward for that certification. So we will. I think the easiest way is probably to work directly with them.
Yeah, so just to wrap up our AMA, next month we're going to be doing our next session with Blue Planet Energy. So make sure that you keep your eyes open for an email in your inbox that will feature this recording, as well as information on how to register next month. But yeah, thank you everyone for attending this month's AMA. Stay in touch with Shawn and Ryan, and we will see you at NABCEP CE conference next month. Thanks everyone.
Thanks Ryan.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.